What's going on, guys? Today we are going to be looking at the NOBULL High-Top Trainer, and I know it's about time we gave NOBULL some love on the channel with some shoe reviews. So 3 things that I like about the High-Top Trainer is number 1, the shoe is overall very durable. I have had this model for over a year and a half now, and as you can see, there's not really any visible breakdown issues. I do have some outsole lug patterning wearing off down here, but overall, this shoe has been pretty phenomenal across the board, especially when it comes to the upper durability and walking outside and getting this dirty and then cleaning it and having it still perform pretty dang well. The second pro that I like about this model is just the overall stability. So one thing about NOBULLs is they are very simplistic in nature, and I know that is a problem for some folks who want them to evolve and build better models, but when it comes to being stable from the simplistic aspect of the outsole and midsole, this model does a really good job. And I always like to make the joke that Kevin Oak is squatting over 700 pounds in his NOBULLs, so I think most people are going to be plenty fine with the stability in this model. The third thing that I like about this shoe is that as just an aesthetic day-to-day model, I really like the shoe. Honestly, I probably wear it more out of the gym than I do with my training settings. I will wear it for some of my powerlifting sessions when I am deadlifting and I cannot go socks, or if I forget my Converse. So I will wear it for that purpose, but overall, I love it for day-to-day wear. And honestly, the super fabric is super easy to wipe down. Once again, I've had these for over a year and a half, and there's still not too much fading with the upper colorway and just the overall appearance of them. So those are my 3 pros, but now let's talk about a couple of cons I have with this shoe. So 2 potential cons I could see folks having with their NOBULL High-Top Trainers is number 1, when you try to put them on, they can be kind of a pain in the ass. And these have been broken in to a point to where now I have the laces knotted up and I just kind of slide them on, and I even just keep them slid on even though I'm training with more static strength movements. But when breaking them in, you have to unlace them a lot to get them on. And if you're wearing thick socks, forget about it. You have to bring it down 2 or 3 eyelets to even get them on. Not the biggest issue, and it's not really a performance thing, but it is something that I have heard other folks complain about before with the shoe, and it is something that is kind of annoying, especially if you're in a rush and you're trying to put these on quickly. The second con I could see folks having with this model is the price. So at a price of $139 for the standard high-top trainer, and that's not counting the suede or some of the other colorways that cost more, it is a pretty pricey shoe. And not having that many frills to it, and if you're not wearing it on a day-to-day basis, I could see the price point being a turnoff. However, if you do like high-top trainers and if you do plan to wear it on a day-to-day basis, honestly, I think the price is kind of worth it because these have lasted a while, and I personally love high-top shoes, and I can't rock a lot of high-top shoes, but these tend to look pretty dang okay on me. That's subjective, I know. But those are my cons with this shoe. Let's talk about some performance in this shoe because it is a very interesting model when it comes to the overall performance because of the high-top boot. So when chatting on performance in the NOBULL High-Top Trainer, we're going to break it into 3 different sections. We're going to talk about lifting, agility and plyometric work, and day-to-day wear and shorter runs. Now, I talked about the performance being a little bit interesting in the shoe because with the high-top construction, I actually only really like this model for lifting and day-to-day wear. So on a lifting basis, the outsole and midsole is very stable. If you've ever worn a NOBULL pair of trainers before, you know that you're going to get plenty of stability with it. There's a 4mm heel to toe drop, and just the overall midsole construction is very simple in design, which kind of bleeds into how this model is for stability. I've competed in powerlifting with this shoe, have squatted up to 440 pounds in it, and I haven't really noticed any issues with compression whatsoever. Plus, the toe box is decently wide, so you can fully splay the toes and try to grip the floor in a variety of movements with this trainer. Now, on agility and plyometric basis, honestly, this shoe is okay, but it's really not my favorite because 1, with the high-top construction, if you lace them up all the way and pull them tight, I think a lot of people actually find that their dorsiflexion gets a little bit limited. So when you are trying to flex the toes upwards and have that knee translate forward a little bit more, I think the NOBULL construction with the super fabric can be a tad limiting, especially in agility movements where we do need to be on the toes pretty heavily and have a lot of forward knee translation and have a little bit more dorsiflexion. So from an agility and plyometric point of view, these shoes will get the job done for your more recreational functional fitness athletes, but they're definitely not going to excel in that realm due to the higher boot construction of this model. Now on a day-to-day basis, I did mention that I actually really love this model, and I think from an aesthetics point of view and just an overall decently comfortable point of view, they do a pretty good job for longer term wear. Now, would I recommend wearing them to work and stand all day in? Probably not, because there isn't that much material that separates you from the ground. Plus, with the lower heel to toe drop, I think most folks will find that a little bit uncomfortable. And on a shorter run basis, the shoes are, they're a high top, very stable trainer, so they're not the best. And honestly, like, you can wear them for shorter runs and workouts, but you're probably gonna find that they're pretty uncomfortable, especially if you're lacing them up and tightening them up all the way. You might feel a little bit limited with your ankle mobility. Plus, with the more stable midsole and outsole, if you're not a 4-foot runner, you're gonna feel really uncomfortable in this model. But those are my thoughts on the performance of this shoe. I think from a lifting point of view, this model really excels, especially if you like having a high top construction. But when it comes to versatility and functionality, the boot can be a little bit limiting from an ankle mobility point of view. So now the question is, are the NOBULL High-Top trainers worth it? So here's where I think you go 50-50, because if you want them for lifting and more casual day-to-day wear, I think they are definitely worth it. But I also do see where people come from, where it's like NOBULL doesn't really innovate their products, they are overpriced, and honestly, you can get a shoe that's gonna be way more versatile in nature, and in that context, then you might wanna skip on this model. But if you are like myself and you do like high top shoes and you wanna wear them for lifting and more casual day-to-day wear, I would say that this model is worth it. The durability has been superb so far, but those are my thoughts on if this model is worth it. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this review, consider subscribing to the channel. It takes little to no time, and every week I am pumping out a ton of fitness content, training shoe, and apparel review content. So when it comes to sizing and fit in the NOBULL High-Top Trainer, I think most lifters and athletes should be fairly safe going true to size. The length fits pretty true, and the overall width of the toe box does a pretty good job accommodating for wider footed individuals. But as always, if you have any questions on sizing and fit, hit me in the comments below, and then also we can go back and forth on what you wear now and what size you should probably go for with this model. When it comes to price for the NOBULL High-Top Trainer, you can expect to pay around $139. Now do note that that is for more of like the standard high-top trainer, I'd say, and not some of the more specific or limited colorways or even like the suede high-top trainer. So $139 for this pair. I talked about if they're worth it in the section before, but definitely not the most cost-efficient trainer on the market. All right guys, now let's break down the construction of the NOBULL High-Top Trainer. So up here on the toe, we have an extended outsole layer that comes up, and then throughout the entire upper, we have the NOBULL Super Fabric. So there's really not much to the upper fabric, especially throughout the forefoot, midfoot, and heel, because it's all pretty much the same exact thing. On the lateral heel side, we have like this reflective NOBULL branding. As you can see, mine is kind of faded, and I actually like that better, to be honest. I don't really like the big NOBULL branding personally, but you can see that the NOBULL branding is pretty prevalent here on the lateral heel side. Making our way through the midsole, pretty standard throughout. So we have this like high density midsole throughout the whole entirety of the shoe. And then we have some slight medial deviations here on the medial side and a little bit on the lateral side, and that is for rope climbing purposes and giving you a little bit of extra grip there. And then making our way to the eyelets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 eyelets that go up. We have metal eyelet loops around there, and then we have that standard NOBULL tongue, so it's like this more mesh material. It's pretty breathable. I will say with NOBULL tongues, especially with this pair of shoes, since they are a little bit tough to get on, be very careful with how you're pulling the tongue up. Obviously pull on both sides, don't pull on one side and chance ripping it, especially because this is a slightly more expensive pair of shoes. Making our way to the outsole, we have this lug patterning. As you can see, mine is pretty faded. I have worn these for over a year and a half, and I have kind of worn them to death on a day-to-day basis, but overall, the outsole has done a pretty good job at kind of standing the test of time. I'm losing a little bit of traction back here on the posterior heel and throughout the midfoot, forefoot up here, but overall it's done pretty good resisting any form of friction from the ground. But that's really it when it comes to this model. There's not a whole lot of frills to NOBULL trainers, and I think that's both a positive and a drawback for some lifters and athletes. But if you have any questions on the construction of the shoe, or if you felt like I missed anything, just hit me in the comments below and I will gladly answer anything you have. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the NOBULL High-Top Trainer. Overall, I like this shoe for day-to-day wear and lifting. I do think that the versatility can be a little bit limited when pulling up the laces all the way and tightening them, and that's due to the thicker super fabric not giving you a ton of wiggle room, because where we have durability, we are gonna lose a little bit of versatility there. If you have any questions on this model, or if you should invest in a pair, hit me in the comments below. I'll gladly answer anything you have. And as always guys, drop a like to the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.